State Warriors, a team that they still get to play before the season's said and done. So Houston might limp in to that 10 spot, which would be absolutely incredible for them to get into the play. And it would blow my mind, that's for sure. Golden State would fall out. And of course, if you're a Blazer fan, you want Golden State in the lottery, giving you the best chances to get a nice extra lottery pick there. So we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the season. Again, I still have circled on the calendar that game against the Charlotte Hornets because that one is going to be insane because that one is going to have a ton of impact on where the Blazers sit in the final standings when it comes to getting that big draft pick, right? Getting into the lottery and getting the chance of getting the number one overall pick. And we'll talk about that throughout the show. I will be joined by a special guest co-host too, but I'm not going to say who it is. He's just going to awkwardly stare at me and laugh every once in a while over there in my ear. He's being weird, but you would expect nothing less once you realize who's here with me today. But before we get into what the Blazers have to look forward to against Atlanta, and they get to look forward to more than just Waffle House. I'll tell you that much. We got to look at what happened against those Houston Rockets. It was a 110-92 loss for your Portland Trailblazers, and they went into halftime with the 51-47 lead. So things were looking good, but then they kind of unraveled there in the second half, and it's one of those things. And I'm gonna break it. I'm gonna ask Keith about that in a little bit. That's right. I got Keith Feltner Smith of Trailcaster fame with me today. I'm gonna ask him his take on this and how he feels as a fan, because I don't like to tell people how to fan, but I do like to tell them, what their expectations should be at least. Because it was interesting because after the game, on what day was that now? Monday. There you go. After the game on Monday, we had people in the YouTube chat talking about how, oh man, it was just a terrible game, and this team's terrible. Can the season just end? And I said in the fifth quarter, I was like, okay, cool and all, but what were your expectations? They started 5 rookies for the second game in a row, only the second team to do so in the last decade plus, and only the second team to do so since 1976. 50 years, and this team started 5 rookies. And let me tell you what, if this team is fully healthy, let's say there are no trades in the offseason, and this team rolls into camp with the team that they have now, which again will not happen. I don't believe so. There's going to be a lot to happen. But say that happens. Let's see, Ryan Rupert, he's not in the rotation. Ashton Hagens, who played, he's not in the rotation. Justin Minaya, who played in the game, he's not in the rotation. Moses Brown, who played, he's not in the rotation. Dwap Reith, possibly, but even if this team's fully healthy, you got to remember, you got Robert Williams to contend with. Chris Murray, who's been really good, probably end the rotation. Delano Banton, who everybody loves, end of the rotation. Like, he's not getting mad minutes and 21 shots a night on a fully healthy team. So pump the brakes, right? Like, what are your expectations? And as I pointed out in the post-game show, Moses Brown entered that game. He was the most tenured Blazer to play. 145 career games, not even 2 full seasons of NBA action under his belt when it comes to games he's actually played in. Now, he's been around for longer than 2 years, but just not a lot of experience to go along with it. So, yeah, you were going to take your lumps, right? Going to take your lumps. That's my word of the year, lumps, because the Blazers are taking them. But still, you got to understand what's in front of you, and then you have to evaluate what's going on. And there's some good and there's some bad. The good, yeah, Delano Banton looked good. He had 39 minutes, 11 of 21, 28 points. But again, on a fully healthy team, he's not getting 21 shots a night. He's probably not even getting the 11 that he made. And it's interesting because people have been coming at Chad lately. Every time Chad talks about Scoot, he has people on Twitter sending him pictures of Delano Banton's stat lines. Like, do you guys really think that Delano Banton is the better prospect right now? Like, I understand that it's really, really easy to like what's in front of you and what's going on. But Delano Banton, to me, and I've said this before, and I'll get Keith's take on this when I welcome him in. I'm teaching him patience, right? Teaching him patience here. But to me, Delano Banton is just he's this year's Trendon Watford. He's this year's Trendon Watford. And Trendon Watford, I like Trendon Watford. He was great for Portland on an injury-depleted team that had no bodies and just needed to throw people out there. Then he goes to Brooklyn, and what is he in Brooklyn? Yeah, he's playing like 7 minutes a game. So he's this year's Trendon Watford. I do think there's some versatility to him. He has the ability because he's tall enough at 6'8" to play multiple positions. He can defend the multiple positions. I love the fact that he gets the ball out and runs with the tempo, right? But again, is he changing games at the end of the day on a fully healthy roster? I don't think so. But that's me. Again, he did look good in this game, but again, it's like taking the slowest kid in every single class and making them race and then saying you're the fastest. Like, yeah, that's cool. You were the fastest of all the slow kids. Yeah, like I played sports. A lot of you did, and you always wanted to race, right? And we knew, like in baseball, we knew who the fast kids were. We knew who the slow kids were. Shout out to Kanks, Chris James, and Matt Dillingham, right? They were our slow kids. Me, I was the fast kid. I got to race with the Josh Camerons and the Timmy Rodriguezes. Usually come in second, maybe third. On a good day, I'd come in first. We were all pretty close, right? So if I won that race, I got to. That's right. I was the fastest of the fast kids. If Matt Dillingham won the race that he was in, he got the award for winning the race of the slowest kids on the team. Doesn't mean you're fast. It just means you're fast compared to the other slow guys. Okay. So that's where I am at with guys like Delano Banton at the end of the day. Doesn't mean I don't love him. I love what he's been given the team. And I do think maybe there's some untapped potential there, but he is on his third team in what, 2 years? Think about it, guys. Looking at the rest of the roster, though, Tamani Kamara, another good game, 12 points, 5 rebounds, had 2 steals, 2 blocks in 35 minutes, just 4 of 9 shooting. Again, I think as his offense comes along, he'll start hitting those shots and maybe taking a few more. I really like his game. His development has been crazy good. To me, he's been the Blazers of Rookie of the Year. Chris Murray, 2 of 11, just 4 points. So an off game for him, but he did find other ways to impact the game. Dwop Reith, just 8 points. Scoot Henderson, who is front and center in everybody's mind, 15 points, 4 assists. And we'll talk about him a little bit later when we get to What's the Scoot, our Scoot Henderson segment. And then the rest of the lineup, Ashton Hagens had 8 off the bench. Jabari Walker had 7 points, 5 rebounds in 26 minutes. On the Rockets side of things, all 5 starters were in double figures. Jalen Green led the way with 27 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. And just a well-balanced game from them. And they put it together at the end. And they're like, you know what? Yeah, we're going to flex on you. And it's interesting, man. Like when you have a good coach and you have some talent around you, it's interesting how good that coach can be, because Ime Udoka has flipped this team on its head. And you saw what he did in Boston too. He had that team on the right trajectory. Then he had some behind the scenes stuff that soiled it, so to speak. But yeah, coaching wise, he's getting the job done. Now back to Delano Banton real quick. He did get a chance to talk to the media after the game. And like I said, I do think, and again, fully healthy roster, that's different. But I think what's interesting all the way around is the fact that he is still playing well. And he did get his first double-double. And you can turn the computer on now, Shacker. I muted YouTube. I heard my own voice in my ear. I was like, what was that? Oh, yeah, got to mute the YouTube that I have running so I can see all the comments on the chat there. But here is Delano Banton post-game following the game in Houston.
Delano, this was your first career double-double. How did you feel about your personal performance?
It was all right. I think we just had a good first half. In that third quarter early, throughout the whole third quarter, I should say we got away from what got us that lead in the first half. So I would say just trying to stick together for 48 minutes, doing the things that can help us win. Playing with pace, getting to the paint. So, if we stick to those things, we weren't turning the ball over much in the first half. We started out. Second half, turn it over that whole quarter. So, just got to stick to what got us there and be able to play the whole game.
How impressed have you been with this starting lineup full of rookies but still competing every night?
Man, Coach Chauncey preaches to us like, let's run, let's play. It'll be hard for teams to keep up with us. Just got to be able to maintain and make decisions in the open floor. But definitely, being young, man, comes with mistakes. He definitely gives everybody the freedom to play through it. Go down on defense, get a stop, and even if you made that turnover, you get to try again. So, I feel like it goes a long way for all of us, and it's building confidence for all of our young guys.
What do you feel like you guys need to do to maybe get off this losing streak when you get to Atlanta in 2 days?
Like I said, I feel like we're we want to lose on our terms. I feel like, if we play the way we want to play, we'll give a team a run for their money every night. Just trying to do it for 48 minutes. So I feel like, if we continue to do that, I feel like we're in good shape that first half. Second half, if we get complacent like that, if we play like, lackadaisical like that, it's going to be hard to win against any NBA team. So, especially here, these guys are hot. They're running. They're going right now. They know how to win. They're figuring out how to win night in, night out, and what that looks like. And I feel like that's something that we're going to have to look forward to, continue to build on. And, like I said before, you lose the same ways: rebounding, transition points, giving up certain things, turnovers. And then if you win, it looks different every night offensively. So much talented guys, it could be anybody's night. But I'm just trying to stick to the things that'll help us win.
And there you go. There was Delano Banton, and he is sticking to the right things. Like I said, I can't knock the guy for having the double first of his career, and the fact that he has been playing well. But it doesn't mean that I think that he is the savior. I don't think that he's a starter come next season or any of that whatsoever. I just think that he's good. He's good, and I like what they like. The fact that they gave up nothing to get him is pretty nice. And maybe he does have a future. I think he does. I think he's playing himself into a roster spot somewhere at least, and preferably Portland. If Delano Banton is my 13th, 14th, 15th guy, I might feel pretty good. Maybe he finds a way to crack that top 10 in the long run too. But again, fully healthy, I just don't think so. I'll get some more takes on that throughout the show though, because we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Keith Feltner Smith. You may have heard of him. He used to host a podcast locally called Trailcasters. He hasn't recorded an episode in like 2 months. He just keeps pulling me along for the ride, though. I'll get him to record one, though. I'll get him to record. We're going to get his takes here on your home, the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. Chris Burkhardt here, filling in for Chad Doing. He'll be with you in a little over an hour's time for the Blazers pregame show. And then, of course, at 4:30, we will have Blazers versus the Hawks right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. And it is now time for What's the Scoot? And in that game against the Rockets, Scoot Henderson, he had 15 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Not a terrible game, and he has had ups and downs this season. But for the most part, has had some pretty good basketball games as of late. And with What's the Scoot, this is the perfect time to bring in the founding father of the Trailcasters podcast. I was going to call him my co-host on the pod, but I'm his co-host. I'm always ready to record. He's not. I'm putting him on blast on live radio here.
Oh, we're going right with that off the top, huh?
We could have had a podcast every single week, but he's got excuses are like rear ends, my old coach used to say. Everybody has one and they all stink, Keith. But welcome in now, Keith Feltner Smith. You can follow him on Twitter, just at Trailcasters. He doesn't even tweet from his actual account anymore. He is just the Trailcaster guy. So he has fun. You can follow him there, or of course, join the Discard link in the episode description.
Yes, the link in the episode description. If we ever posted episodes recently, we'd have more
but
links
I'm
out
glad
there.
to have him here. I get somebody else's take because sometimes I feel like I'm the old man yelling at clouds when it comes to Scoot Henderson and everything that's going on, because everyone, Keith, seems to be getting like so upset that he's having the year that he has. And yes, it started slow and it's picked up, but it's just, man, I'm not on the train here that he is a bust and he has been let off, down the Columbia River on a Viking ship, and we're all launching our flaming arrows at him. Like it's wild to me.
Yeah, man. There's way too early. It's way too early to have a Viking funeral at this point. I'm still absolutely on the Scoot train. Too many people jumping off way too fast. He's played 53 games. He's only started 23. Obviously, he's starting more of those now, but I'm firmly in the camp that we spent too much of the season this year kind of playing it safe with him. I get where that made sense earlier, and that was Chauncey's thing, saying we wanted to make sure that he didn't get in over his head, playing it safe. He wanted to come protect him, bring him along slowly. It's time, man. At this point in the year, we got to see more of Scoot as much as we can. And in recent games, I think it's looked good. The 24 and 10 he had, and then 22 and I think 8 the next game. Last game against Houston wasn't quite as good. They're not all going to be bangers, but he's looking a lot better than he did earlier in the year. And I wish we'd had more time to see this from him.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I brought this up now. Now it's interesting because some guards come into the league and they look great. I mean, the guy that might play tonight, whatchamacallit, I'm like, hey, confusing. Who plays there? Trae Young, right?
Trae Young.
Like he came in and he had good assists and things were looking good, but not every guard is good out of the gate. A lot of them take time, and I brought this up with people the other day. I mean, you look at Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who might be one of the best players in the entire league right now. He's in the MVP conversation, right?
Yeah.
And he came in the league, and his numbers were lower than what Scoot Henderson is at right now, his rookie year. It just took him time, and you can't sit here and go, oh, yeah, but the expectations and the blah, blah. Yeah, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was the number 11 overall pick. Like, he was a lottery pick, and with a lottery pick comes high expectations, right? And it's interesting because, like, Tyrese Halliburton, right?
Right.
He, again, MVP caliber player, has the Pacers in a great spot. He's nearly unguardable.
But out the gate.
His rookie year, he averaged, I think it was 5.2 assists. And Scoot Henderson's at 4.8. So it's like, and now he leads the league at 11. So it's like, again, things take time. So I'm not sold on this whole, like, he's totally busted.
The difference with both those two, Shai Gilgeous he had run. He had the keys right out the gate pretty much. And Halliburton, he went through a bit of a rough spot. Sacramento Kings ended up moving him over to Indy. But still, neither of them was in a situation where they were, again, being held back quite as much or starting quite as slow. We had the stuff early in the year here with Scoot where he needed the corrective lenses after that first initial injury. I'm banging that drum all day as far as, like, part of the slow start was he got into a situation where right off the bat, things changed for him. I know it's cliche, but I want to throw that first small sample out and just trying to take everything after that. And again, that doesn't mean the entire year outside those first 6 games have been perfect, but it's improving. We're seeing a lot of progress recently that we didn't see earlier. And if we had him getting this kind of run earlier, I think we'd be much further along at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it's just wild. People are completely upset about it, or again, keep sending Chad pictures of Delano Banton as if Delano Banton is the better prospect than Scoot Henderson. Like I said, Delano Banton has played for the Raptors, the Celtics, and now the Blazers. His third team in what, 2 years, I believe it is. So it's just Yeah, Scoot's going to be just fine. I see a lot of things from Scoot. I think the fool's errand, Keith, that everybody uh it has in their head, and it's what you have to do is you have to get rid of this and just be able to look at Scoot is like, oh well, Damian Lillard. He's not Dame.
He's not Dame.
He's
not
not
going to be
Dame.
Dame. He's an
Okay.
entirely different model of player, point
Yeah.
guard outside Dame.
And if anything, I find it really interesting because Ant is like,
You almost said Penny.
no, not even close. Ant to me is a 2. He's a 2 to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
They've forced him into that one spot a little more this year, and kudos to him. You can tell he's put in the work.
Oh, yeah, he's trying.
His passing game, everything has been money this year. But it still seems weird to me. I think they do it because he's the best player on the floor, so we're just going to put the ball in his hands.
Yep.
But this guy who, over the last handful of years, has been an incredible catch and shoot
Off-ball player.
three
Yeah.
point guy. We're going to put the ball in his hand and take away the one of the things he does great. And then you take Scoot, who needs the ball in his hand. And even with Delano Banton on the floor, there's just too many times where I'm like, why is he in the corner? Why is he in the corner without the ball in his hand? Let him run the offense.
You're sticking the true point guard in the corner to try and teach him to shoot instead of letting him be out of the top of the key running offense, which is what he needs to learn to do in the first place.
Blows my mind. It blows my mind. But that's just the situation you're in there. So, yeah, Ants look good in that respect, but I would just like to see Scoot there get a little more play. But again, I think he's looked great. The turnover numbers can be high sometimes, but he's at least trying. The biggest thing to me is he's just got to get to the point where sounds dumb, but he's not thinking. He's just doing. You can tell that he's still trying to think the game, and that'll take time. But you can go down the list, man. There's plenty of players who came into the league as a point guard and looked good. I mean, John Morant, right? But John Morant also had like that full year of playing college ball. Trey Young comes in. Yeah, well, Oklahoma, NCAA tournament, a little bit of experience. G League Ignite. Yeah, so much experience there. They don't even exist anymore, right?
Right.
But,
Burned down.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Like the guy literally, he just turned 20 a month ago. And is now he's hitting the point where he's what, close to 60 games in his career because he's missed a few. I'm just not worried. I just find a guy right now that just needs to have that game that's good enough that boosts his confidence, man.
It's what you said about the mindset, too. He needs to be doing this more automatically without having to think as much. And you mentioned the Dame comparison earlier that fans seem to still kind of be stuck on. If we thought back to year one, I think we could find examples where Dame, too, was overthinking plays. He's running in, he's driving into the lane, made a decision to go a certain way, and is not really prepared as far as making a second decision or what comes next. Scoot's in that spot, too. He's figuring out what works. He's going to figure out his counters and his second choice, and if not that, then this kind of thing. It's going to take some time, and we need to give him more time.
Yeah, and I think with time, I think he'll be just fine. Like he'll be just fine. Everyone likes to worry, but he'll be just fine. At least I hope he's just fine. Otherwise, we'll eat our words, and we were so wrong, and blah blah blah.
The other side of this is Dame was a number one, right? And I think you and I have talked about this, Chris, last time, once upon a time when we did a podcast. Scoot as a point guard, he's not necessarily going to be the number one option on the offense. He can run the offense, and we need that, but you don't have many examples through history in the NBA where the point guard is the number one offense works. Outside of Steph Curry, that's not really how the system works. So having him being a distributor, a playmaker for another one, number one, is going to be a better path anyway, right?
Well, here's the thing. I think I think it's shocking because, again, he was taken third overall and whatnot, but I don't think the team drafted him, Keith, with the intent for him to be the guy who puts the team on his back. I think if he just hits his potential and is a really good point guard, I think this team wants guys like Shaedon Sharpe to go ham and be the best player on the floor.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to things that you and I have talked about before, how the fact that teams who a point guard is their best player don't win that often. They have to be built in a very, very specific way to have that team win. And that's the Golden State model, the Detroit Piston model twice over. Other than that, I get some people, Tony Parker in San Antonio. Well, Tony Parker was.
Tony Parker wasn't their number one option. He was a great player. But we can have that with Scoot, where he's going to be a great player, but he doesn't have to be the guy who's like, he's putting in the most points per game. He can be setting everyone else up. Set up Shaedon. Set up Aiden.
So I agree. Like he was a third overall pick, tons of potential. Still, like he's a guy I think that the team looked at and say that's a guy who might be an all-star one day. He's that type of talent. I honestly don't think the team drafted him to be their best player.
Agreed.
I think they're either going to trade and find that guy, or they hope realistically that it's Shea at the end of the day. And I don't know what that means for Ant or where that happens. I still think he becomes trade fodder, but still, I think They want a guy like Shea to step up, and then if you look at the way that breaks down, you're like, okay, now if Shea hits his potential and he's playing, big minutes and he's scoring 25, 26 per night, and then Scoot comes in here and he's averaging, like you and I have talked for, he's not averaging 20 plus per night, but he's giving you a solid 15 and 10 every single
He's
night.
setting everyone else up.
And he's setting
helping them get
everyone
theirs.
up. Your balance is there, and that's
yeah.
great. What I think what this team does not need is a complete rehash of what we've seen before, and that is
Yes.
point guard leads everybody in scoring. Boo. So yeah, I think we're absolutely fine. All right, gonna take a quick break here on the pregame show. When we return, we're gonna head on down to the coach's corner. Hear what Coach Billups had to say following that loss in Houston, and continue to get you ready for this Atlanta Hawks Portland Trailblazers matchup. Chris Burkhardt here, joined by Keith Feltner Smith, the godfather of the Trailcasters podcast, right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I usually give Michael Shacker props for the music he picks, but I don't know. I mean, I know that he did this on purpose because that's what he does, but did he? Quite the choice in the last 24 hours there, Michael Shacker. Interesting. Speaking of interesting, did Chauncey Billups have anything interesting to say following the loss to Houston? There's no better way to find out than to head down to the coach's corner and hear what the coach had to say following the 110-92 loss to the Houston Rockets.
I thought we had a really good first half, and had some good moments in that third quarter. And the game kind of turned. They picked up their defensive pressure, and we just didn't respond very well to it. 17 turnovers, but I'm telling you, it felt a lot. It felt like more like 21, 22. Because some of our shots were also kind of shooting turnovers as well. Just shot some tough looks, tough shots. But you get them credit. You know, they turned it up when they needed to defensively, and against a young, inexperienced group, and got us sped up a little bit. We lost our composure some. So it was some good teachable moments for our young guys.
Seems like the got off to a good start tonight.
Mm-hmm.
What are you seeing that they're doing well when they're getting off to good starts, when they're playing well? What are the things you're seeing?
Yeah, I think our ball movement, our pace and getting it up and trying to beat teams down before they can get their defense set. We had so many good moments we had multiple paint touches on a single possession. And I think at halftime, we had like 11 possessions where we had multiple paint touches, and our points per possession on that was like a 1.45, which is lights out. But that's hard work. It's hard to do that. It's hard to maintain that, and especially when they turned it up and stopped letting you actually get to the paint, And obviously we really struggled from three, so the only way that we could really score is to get to that paint and attack, and we didn't shoot it very well.
I think you asked about this. Rayon, I think, played a little bit more tonight. Are you seeing like growth on a night-to-night basis from him, or is it still kind of here and there?
No, he's getting better. It was good to see him make some shots tonight. Roops, he continues to get better. We play. He's the type of player and that he works so hard, and when he actually gets to see some of these coverages and see some of the areas that he may be open, I was just happy that he was aggressive. He looked for a shot tonight, and those threes that he hit were huge shots for us. So I was happy. I thought Roops did a good job and played well.
I'd asked Scoot prior to the game about that, starting all rookies, and if it was any different. He was like, not really, but it does maybe make me focus in a little bit more, because I realized that like Ant's not out there with me, and I know that maybe gonna have to, maybe a little more is on me. Like, do you see that at all? And have you seen him reacting to that?
I don't think I see it at all. Scoot was really aggressive at the start of the game today to try to score the ball. So maybe that's kind of what he meant, saying like I probably should be a lot more aggressive out here with all the youngins on the floor. But I thought his attacks and him being aggressive to try to score the ball got us off to a pretty good start, to be honest with you. So, for the most part, I thought he played well too. Too many turnovers, but we played well.
There is Coach Billups following the loss to the Rockets. And Keith, what do you think about what he said there? Because I got to get your take, see what the fans think. Because there's a player that I think has looked pretty good recently. Again, good, all things considered, right? But Rayon Rupert, I think he's good. I think he's started to show a little bit of that, that ability to play on both sides of the floor. It's just that confidence factor. But I think he's looked good. What about you?
I like Repair, man. I think to feel like a broken record already saying this, but the issue with Repair has been small sample size for the most part. Of the forwards and the wings we have, he's not developed enough to, I think, have gotten a lot of runs so far this season. But now that we're in these situations where we're playing all the rookies and getting all these guys in there, this might be a little cliche, but tell me if I'm that far off. I don't think I am. there's a lot of similarities to Batum's game as far as being that glue man, that two-way guy, the length he has, the raw potential he has. We just haven't seen if he's going to put it all together. But even his eye for the ball, man, like the playmaking that we're seeing from him as well as just the defensive side, it looks nice, but it's just hard to. We have so many young dudes right now, and even Jabari. I know he's not a rookie, but I throw him in that same rotation of kind of all of our young wings that are developing. I like a lot what I'm seeing from Roop. It's just hard to know where he falls out when we kind of have to make room on this roster for who comes in next season, bringing in more young guys. And is he in one of those top 1 or 2 spots as far as our role player wings, role player forwards?
Not right now.
Right,
He's not in a top 2 spot in the rotation, but I mean, I think maybe he can get there. He's young too, right? I mean, you talk about this team and their youth, and you can look at Scoot and say, oh yeah, Scoot, he just turned 20 a month ago. But again, Ryan Repair, he's just a baby as well. I mean, he doesn't turn 20 for another 2 months,
right?
So he's 19 years old, my man. Like,
I think as far as a lot of the fans go too, there is a lot of hype with Repair. A lot of these guys, a lot of our friends going to the remix games, seeing him play down there or up in North Portland. I think there's a lot of hype on his potential and his what his ceiling could be. But yeah, we got to see him more against actual NBA competition with an actual NBA rotation as opposed to this five rookie roster.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to see that. I think there's potential there, though. I think where things are going to get really interesting as they build this roster is I think they still want to try to make a move to find the starting small forward of the future. But I do think Tamani Kamara is going to try really hard to get it.
Yeah.
Right. And if the worst case scenario, you have a guy who can play the 3 and the 4 and you can move around, he's going to be good defensively. That shot comes around. I still like Matisse Thybulle coming off the bench. Like, there's things I like. There's things that are going to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure Malcolm Brogdon's probably going to be traded. There's chances some other guys are as well. But I still contend that if this team's fully healthy, they may be better than people think. Not a championship team yet, not a legit playoff team yet. But you can't convince me that this team fully healthy with the right offseason move isn't at least sniffing the play-in. So we'll see what happens in the long term. They obviously do need to get better, but this time of year and the things that are going on, I mean, getting the young guys some run is important. These are the times that Rupert gets to develop, that Tamani gets to fix his game. Chris Murray, I think, has been a huge benefactor of some of the injuries as late, getting thrown into that starting position and having some pretty good games with it. Delano Banton has earned himself a roster spot somewhere. At some point. All right. So, yeah, these games are still important, even though they're not important in the win-loss column.
Yeah, and you mentioned Chris Murray there as well, and I feel like he and Rupert, they're both in such similar positions as far as, man, there's a lot of stuff that I enjoy seeing about them. I would love to see them more, but at the same time, if the only way we can see them more is not having any of the rest of our roster healthy, that's a choice in itself. There's just so much. There's so much divide. This roster being pulled in 2 different directions so strongly with the group of vets we have that are good, fun players to watch, but it's not complete. And all this young talent that's nice, but man, it's just not ready yet.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to marinate it for a little bit, my man. It's got to get in there, get fixed, and get ready to go. Hey, you ever head down? I know you're a HR guy
out in Hood River.
Yeah. See, but you ever head down to Albany?
I haven't been there in a little while.
If you do, apparently we got to hit up this place called Bricks and Joysticks.
Bricks and Joyce. Oh, now you're talking.
We're giving a shout out here. He's talking in our chat.
Here we go.
And he owns a Bricks and Joysticks. Do the math, right? It's a game shop.
Yeah.
He's got all sorts of stuff. I don't know. We got to hit this up and buy some games, go play some Magic or something. I don't know.
I like the sound.
We got to see what this is all about.
Like, are we talking arcade? Are we talking used games in there? I sound like you said Magic.
Oh no, I'm looking at it online right now, dude.
Nice.
It's just a little mom and pop shop. Walk in,
okay.
buy some board games, walk out with an old Sega cartridge. It's probably where Michael Shacker bought stuff like this, right?
Hoops.
Yeah, let me get NBA hoops featuring Shaquille O'Neal for $2.99.
That's impressive.
Or
PS2.
Or throw it back to Shaq Fu.
Whoa.
Shaq Fu for the Genesis.
That is an antique.
Right?
Where did you find that?
Hey, Shacker got it, and he yelled at me a second ago. He's like, hey, your big old head is blocking it. Can we put it somewhere where we can see it? So there you go. Shaq Fu. What's the best sports game that you've played that's not a sports game? Okay, so like obviously
Okay,
that,
okay.
NBA 2K6, you're playing basketball. That's a sports game.
That's a sports game.
Shaq
Okay.
Fu. That's not a sports game. That's Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu is not a sports game. On N64 back in the day, we had a monster truck jam where you're taking monster trucks trying to get on top of each other, knock each other out of the ring. It's not a sport, but it's that Mario Kart kind of competitive edge, knock each other, King of the Mountain, kind of like WWF kind of thing back in the day.
Okay, well that was the wrong answer because the right answer is Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Oh man, that is old school.
You remember that game?
Yeah, barely. I wouldn't have thought of that until now. But
You get the
geez.
fire basketball, you get the ice basketball, you got like the robotic
oh my
spiders.
God, yeah.
Michael Jordan, Chaos in the Windy City. That's why in my debate, everyone loves to debate MJ versus LeBron. Who's the GOAT? There ain't no LeBron James Chaos in Cleveland video game. Okay? All right? Yeah. See, Bricks and Joysticks. He says, see, look at that. Burkhart pulling out a reference to Chaos in the Windy City. That game it's grossly underrated.
The ice ball
People
and the
don't
fireball.
know
Until you
about
mention that, like I remember that now. Yeah, the one, oh my
He
God.
jump up there to be the basketball. You do the reverse jam and coins would fall out. Heck yes.
Old school. Oh my God. Bring those back. Bring back we need a strong Super Nintendo emulator and just get that game front and center.
There you go. We had this debate on Rip City Mornings the other day. I was filling in for Justin. We went down the rabbit hole talking video games, and I still contend, Keith. I know you love your Dead by Daylights.
Oh yeah.
And your PlayStation 4s and 5s, and I love my PC nowadays. But if you walk up to me and you're like, "Hey, you're stranded on a desert island," right? There's like one outlet though. There is electricity. TV's already plugged in, but you get to bring one video game system with its entire library.
Oh, one console and the
Yep,
whole
but
library.
with its library?
Ooh.
No, that's not hard. Give me the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
See, I was gonna go 64, so it's related. I'm not going. It's the Nintendo library, but
see, the 64 is cool and all. But I get Mario RPG. I get Super Mario World. I get Donkey Kong. I get Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. I get Earthbound, which is like one of the greatest games ever made. Give me the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And Contra 3, the Alien Wars begin.
Dude, the number of hours that I put in on Contra alone on Super Nintendo back in the day. I can't fault the Super Nintendo at all, but 64 has got Mario 64. That game was groundbreaking open world stuff. Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye.
Yeah, have fun playing GoldenEye in 2024.
Oh, man, like the best shooter around. Best person shooter ever.
So trash.
Give me odd job and one-shot kills.
It's so good for what it did for first-person shooters. And that genre as a whole changed gaming.
Completely.
But the game is impossible to play because of all the video game genres, that one has seen such a mad improvement in its mechanics, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Playing that game is tough.
It's impossible to play because I will beat any of you at that game. In, out, one after another. Bring all challengers on GoldenEye.
Yeah.
I will take you down.
See, Bricks and Joysticks took the bait on the YouTube chat here because the Rip City Radio account commented that the Wii U is #1. And he took the bait. That's Michael Shacker right there. That's Michael Shacker right there.
Shacker.
Okay, and Jonathan chimes in for the time when it came out and for what it offered. The N64, hands down, the greatest console of all time.
Yes, sir.
I disagree. but it's
Smart
up
man.
there. It's probably it's in my top 3.
It's on the Rushmore.
Yeah.
Console Rushmore. Yeah.
It's just a Super Nintendo. See, the thing with the Super Nintendo is it was the tail end of the 2D era, and it had perfected it, and everything was
it was
good.
the best of that 16-bit.
Right?
16-bit, right? Was that
And because everything has improved so much, right? The 3D graphics of the 64, they don't hold up, but the 2D graphics of the Super are money.
It's retro.
Money.
Okay. I feel
But
it.
I get it. No disrespect. 64 still has some great games. I mean, Ocarina of Time is in my personal top 5, top 3 games of all time.
Fantastic.
All time.
But you're right though that again, getting back to the Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City, that side scroll, that 2-dimensional climbing the ladders.
Come on, the Lion King, Aladdin. Come on.
Yeah, the same kind of game as the Chaos in the Windy City. You had a Batman version. I think it was on SNES.
There was some trash Batman games. So Batman Forever, I think was one. Oh yeah, they were bad. Batman Returns. But also had good ones.
Not enough Blazers games on SNES.
What are you talking about? Yeah, Bulls versus Blazers, man. That's a classic.
Oh, was that SNES?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe I just played that later on then. All right. I take it back.
You know what
Withdrawn.
the N64 had, though? A little game that no one talks about called Battle Tanks.
Yes.
That thing was amazing.
Battle Tanks.
Bring that back. 64 has some bangers.
What
It
was
did.
Earthworm Jim on? You remember that game, Earthworm Jim?
Earthworm Jim was an SNES.
Okay,
original.
okay, that's got my vote then.
Yeah. See? You got to take the
getting there.
SNES catalog for Earthbound Alone or Mother
Earthbound.
3 for you civilized people out there. All right, Blazers Game Day has gone down the video game rabbit hole. And you know what? We might just stay there because the YouTube chat's popping off. Everybody's enjoying
This is
it.
what
If you
happens
want-
when you bring
If you
me
want to
in.
join the conversation and tell me how good Shaq Fu is, go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get in on the chat where Jonathan's GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Super Smash Bros. Goated, by the way, right there. Mario Party's goated. Perfect Dark, good. Tony Hawk Pro Skater, I'm going to pause there. THPS was better on the PlayStation than the N64. But good shout out. NFL Blitz is pretty good too. Pokemon Snap, my kids still play that one, by the way, and Pokemon Stadium, so you never know. Yeah. Bricks and Joysticks, loving the video game segment. Coming up next, we're going to talk board games. Why not? Let's just keep talking
Sure.
games.
Let's do
Chris
it.
Burkhardt here with Keith Feltner Smith on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back in to Video Game Day. Video Game Day. There, I missed.
There we go.
I missed the perfect
Branding.
Video Game Day. Okay, welcome back into Blazers Game Day, where we sometimes talk video games because, that's what happens when you bring a guest on and get off the rails. Shout out to the YouTube chat. We might go back there because that was entertaining as heck. But first, before we do that, let's get to up to date with an NBA scoreboard. What's going on around the association? A whole lot of nothing so far because, as I always say, when the Blazers have the early game, that means no one else has tipped off yet. But there is plenty of action going on tonight. So here's what you have to look forward to if you are a basketball junkie like we are. At 4 o'clock, you got Cleveland at Charlotte. Watch that one. You really, really, really want to root for a Hornets upset in that one. You also have at 4 o'clock, Golden State at Orlando, Brooklyn at Washington. At 4:30, you have, of course, your Trailblazers at the Atlanta Hawks, Clippers at 76ers, Knicks at Raptors. At 5 o'clock, Pacers at Bulls, Lakers at Grizzlies, where LeBron James is playing, by the way. Can't convince me he didn't dodge the Bucks on purpose, you baby. Pistons at Timberwolves at 5 o'clock, Rockets at Thunder, Spurs and Jazz at 6, and the final game of the night on ESPN, Suns at Denver Nuggets. And that is your scoreboard report. And I do love the fact that we talked a little video games and the chat just went off. And by the way, people are enjoying the conversation so much that Duke, the UPS man, and I just saw a picture of Dino on the YouTube chat. Shacker, never hesitant to post a picture of his dog on the YouTube. I love it. You would too. If you were back there producing, you would probably see Q nonstop, right?
Absolutely, you would. Without a doubt.
There we go. But everyone got going, and apparently I made Jonathan Campbell very upset. I say that jokingly, though. He's like, dude, 64 is goated. I'm sorry.
I mean, like we said, it's a Rushmore. Go.
It's
That's the debate here. It's a
Rushmore,
Rushmore, though.
Yeah. See, but the thing is, Jonathan, what I would take to the island is obviously different than what you would take, and that's fair. And I'm not disparaging the Nintendo 64 and its absolute greatness.
Nor are we disparaging the SNES.
Because it was phenomenal, and the SNES is great. But man, the SNES just that game catalog is just so money, dude. Top to bottom, like some of the games, like Bricks and Joysticks dropped a Contra 3. Like I played oh my gosh, that game was so good.
I do like your point earlier about
Battletoads.
N64 was like the entry into this new world of gaming, the 3D world, where this was like the premium of the 16-bit. The cap of the 16-bit was the SNES.
Yes, I also come on, Star Fox, Super Metroid. Oh my
64
gosh.
had Star Fox too, though.
Yeah. Oh,
it was a fun
I didn't
game.
like the 64 Star Fox.
People hated on that one.
I didn't like that
underrated.
one. But it also had the SNES was my first foray into the Street Fighter games.
There you go.
Mortal Kombat, right? Chicken pox, baby. See, my kids will never understand. I had chicken pox, right? And so mom's taking care of you, and she's like, what do you want? What'll make you feel better? And it's like, Mom, can you go to Blockbuster and rent me some video games? There we go. I just dated myself. But that was where she came back. Oh my God, Kirby's Dream Land, Final Fight. Just looking at this. Oh my, see, there was some. You remember? Oh my gosh. Oh, what is the name? No, now I'm gonna have to look this up.
Going through the whole game.
No, because there's just so
SNES.
much going through my. It's just so much going through my head right now. Because like Earthbound is probably my favorite game of all time. That's an SNES game, so that's why
it's a classic.
That's why I lean to the SNES. Also, here's one for Bricks and Joysticks. Clay Fighter.
Clay Fighter. Oh, I remember that one. Oh yeah.
Clay Fighter.
For sure.
Bring that one needs to be remade. Bring back Clay Fighter for me.
Yeah.
Come
How
on.
do we have like Street Fighter 13, but we don't have any more
Right.
Clay Fighters?
Killer
yet?
Instinct. Like,
oh yeah.
See, this is the segment nobody knew we needed, and here we have. You know what else is? This is not an SNES game, and this one I remember playing on the GameCube. Had the first like 3D version, but this is where you get into the old school gaming, but. I need to buy this just to have it, Bamp. But do you remember the Worms games?
Oh, without a doubt. I still have
Worms Armageddon.
I have it on my computer, man. Yeah,
I
you
played
can find those ones.
Worms 3D, sending out the holy hand grenade on cats.
The holy hand grenade. The sheep.
See, video games are amazing. You don't get this conversation with Justin in the morning because he's not a gamer. That's why Brendan loves it when I fill in and have some fun. There's a great podcast, by the way, for those, if you're actually enjoying this conversation and this rabbit hole that Keith and I are going down. There's a great podcast called Remember the Game, where they go in and they talk about, like, they dedicate an entire episode to a classic video game.
Nice.
They go back and replay it and then talk about it. And oh yeah, and the one it makes me think, because the episode I was listening to just the other day, and it was from the end of last year, but they were talking about Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island.
I remember that one.
Yoshi's Island was a banger of a game, man. Oh my God. I love it. I just want to go play video games now. Chat, you're awesome. Keith, you're awesome. Super Nintendo 64, you're awesome.
Very much so.
See, but you do get one thing on the 64 that the SNES doesn't have, and that is WCW NWO Revenge, as well as WrestleMania 2000. Though at the time, those are the two greatest wrestling games ever made.
We're also talking birth of a joystick when you get to N64 versus the previous console.
Yeah, and all that joystick dust from trying to win Mario Party.
Right.
Spin that around in a circle as fast as you can. Oh. And Jason was right. Gave us the first, or Jonathan, excuse me, gave us the first jump into Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, right. Oh, Smash Bros.
Started an empire. Oh,
See, this is great. I thought
Super Punch Out. Yeah.
I thought you brought me in here for Blazers talk. I brought the wrong notes. I don't have all the gaming stuff ready to go. This is fantastic, though, Chris. Can we get a full hour of just talking these old school retro games, or I guess we need to go start another podcast for that?
We ain't starting a podcast till we get the one fixed that we got going on. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. When we return, we're going to get to our Coors Hard Truths. Talk a little more basketball here. Chris Berger here with Keith Smith on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. Welcome back into Blazers Game Day. It's time now for your Coors Cold Hard Truths. And truth number one, the SNES is the GOAT console, and that's end of story. Period. End of sentence. Don't come at me, bro.
I'm so glad you went right to that.
You always got to keep this thing connected. Keep this thing connected. Hey, another real Coors Cold Hard fact, though, and I say this one a lot, and that is that I think Scoot's going to be just fine, Keith. I think Scoot's going to be just fine.
Yeah, man. It's a lot of sky is falling right now from Blazers faithful, but we just need to give him more time. He'll get there. I have confidence.
Yep, as do I. As do I. I like what he's given. I think there's some real young talent on this team that's going to be pretty good in the long run, honestly. And some of them will be with Portland, some of them will not. Like, I look at this team, Keith, and realistically, quite honestly, I try to think what this team looked like fully healthy. So say there's not a ton of moves, but you're going to want to find a way to get Scoot, Shea in your starting lineup. I don't think Shea's a 3, so that might mean realistically Ant's on the move. I don't know. We'll see. I'm just spitballing out here.
But you want those young guys out there.
Right, exactly. Ayton, I think, is your center. I still like Grant at this moment, and whatever you have at small forward. Okay, well, let's say that you do decide to keep Ant and you start Scoot, Ant, Shea, Grant, and Ayton. Okay, just for all intents and purposes of this conversation. So now I got to look at how am I filling out the rest of that lineup. And I look at some of the guys who've been playing right now, and I'm like, okay, obviously, Tamani Kamara, yeah, he's locked in that rotation,
yep.
Right? Chris Murray, probably an end of the rotation guy right now. Maybe he can get better. I like what he's been doing. If Robert Williams is healthy, he's your backup center. You have Dwap Reith, who gives you a third string center, but also maybe the ability to slide Williams into the 4, play Dwap at the 5, mix it up a little bit. But then you start continuing to go down. You're like, Ryan Repair. No, not in the lineup. Justin Minaya. No, not in the lineup. Brown, not in the lineup. Haggins, not in the lineup. Ibu Baji, not in the lineup. Matisse Thybulle, yes. Delano Banton probably makes the roster at this point. Not in your rotation, but he's probably making the roster. And then there's another guy that I think has completely turned himself into an NBA rotation player, if not more in the long run, and that's Jabari Walker. Absolutely love the way he plays.
Barry must be involved. And honestly, Barry's skill level already in year 2, I think, is maybe the one reason that I'd be like, if we want to start moving some of the veterans as far as Jeremy and the 4 stuff, that would be the reason, because Barry's looking that good.
Yeah, and I'm not saying this just because they're rocking similar hairstyles, but he's got a little bit of a like Brian Grant throwback game, right?
That's in there.
Like
yeah,
he loves
boards.
He loves to get dirty. Like
yeah,
he loves to bang a little bit. He'll go get the boards. And when he was drafted, you got to remember it was lots of talk about his defense, and that's how he's going to get on the floor. And the defense has still been pretty good. But offensively, he's really starting to round out and play good basketball there, too.
Yeah, he came in with that mentality. We've talked about this before, but Barry said from the get-go, he knows he's a role player. He's not trying to be a star. He's not trying to get more and more and more. And I think knowing that role and accepting that has made it so he hustles. He fills his space. He doesn't try to do too much, and he's not making mistakes that way.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, you look at that, and you got Tamani Kamara. Outside of the guys like Thybulle and stuff, who are they're in that rotation, but I mean you got Kamara and Thybulle, or excuse me, Kamara and Walker on your young guys who have solidified themselves in your rotation.
They must be in the rotation on a healthy
like
roster.
Outside of Scoot and Shea hopefully getting in the starting lineup, but then outside of that, you're playing a bunch of guys right now that aren't in your 8 deep, right? 9 deep. They're beyond that. You're okay. Both of my big men are in foul trouble, so I need to play my third stringer a little bit at a time, and that's good. And this is not a knock on any of them, because it's good that the fact that those types of guys are getting this run right now, that's huge for their overall maturation, right? So I like it. I just, again, when the team loses and then people get mad in the post game show and they're like, that was just an awful game. This team sucks. What did you expect?
That's what this season is. At least the last third of the season for the last 2 years, and now this one, this is kind of what you got to know they're doing. This is their game plan, is trying to, let's play those young guys, let's get the young run, let's not worry about wins, and see how that helps us with the draft assets, or the trade assets in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And things do get a little crazy here, Keith, because let's look at how things are shaping out in the lottery standings. And shout out to everyone who is typing in the chat Duke, the UPS man, says sorry for the spelling errors. He's trying to do speak to text, but he loves the local interactive radio that we're doing. That's why I love YouTube. Okay, Keith. This is your experiment, right? This is what I talk about when I say I want to get the podcast live, because then we can just read the chat and it gives us fodder, and then we don't have to listen to BMAC. We can just listen, watch him type, and ignore it if we want.
Shout out to Mac. Hey, we can do that on the Discord, man. I think they could have him too. But that's not saying I'm against the YouTube. We can get there. We will get there. The pod will be back.
Yes, we'll work on that. But let's take a look here at Tankathon. So this is why I said this week is quite interesting, because Portland has this game in Atlanta, then they have Friday in Miami, then they have a game in Orlando, then they got an all-important game against the Charlotte Hornets in Charlotte, of course, because they're on this weird 7-game road trip to end the year. Right now, Keith, the Blazers are just 3 games back of number 3 San Antonio and a game and a half back of number 4 Charlotte. So the winner of that game, which winning that game might be losing that game, realistically. The loser of that game stands to gain a ton of ground, like basically put themselves in that 4 spot with just a handful of games left. So how the Blazers approach that game, like I'm almost to the point where like I'd be shocked if, like, do we see Jeremy Grant or Matisse Thybulle or DeAndre? Like what happens down the stretch with these guys? Because losing games is important, especially when you got a game against Charlotte, and that could have a big impact on the standings.
Yeah, I think the lineups on the stretch here are definitely going to be questionable as some of those veteran players we're getting. I think I saw tonight Ayton and Thybulle are questionable. Grant is doubtful, or was he full out? He's doubtful, I think. So I think this might be a lot of what we're seeing for the rest of this game.
Yeah, of course. Everybody who has been out remains out tonight. And the Blazers will go with the all-rookie starting 5 for the 3rd straight game in a row. This is per Casey Holdall just a few minutes ago. So for a reminder, that means Brogdon, Sharp, Simons, Williams, Grant, Ayton, Thybulle, all out. Grant was doubtful this morning. Ayton and Thybulle were questionable. But according to Holdall, going back to the all-rookie lineup. Also, according to Casey Holdall, Chauncey Billups said pregame that Shaedon Sharpe has officially started practicing with the Rip City Remix, albeit non-contact at this point, and is saying that he gets his updates almost immediately on Sharpe's progress. And I do have been hearing the murmurs. I do think the team wants to get him back on the court, no matter what it is. If it's just 4 games or 5 games, even if it's just 2 games. Like, it really doesn't matter. And I think that's huge for the progress of Shea. I think you want to get him on, shake off any rust you can, and just get a basketball back in his hand so he can enter the offseason with a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, I think the fact that we've only seen, 20-ish games from Shaedon so far this season, as soon as we heard that he was going to come back and play or be warming up, I guess, with the Remix, I'm going to the Remix game this Friday. A bunch of us are, and it was all this talk like, oh, maybe we get to see Shaedon there. I do not think, anyone, that we are going to see Shaedon play for the Remix. It's just kind of getting him back in warm-up because, the hope is that this leads him towards actually getting some Blazers minutes at the end.
Well, if he plays a game, you being the Blazer degenerate that you are, like you got to find a way to get your hands on a Shaedon Sharpe Rip City Remix jersey.
Oh man, if that happens, money will be dropped.
Like if he plays, all he has to do is play one game to make for that jersey to
get printed,
be officially exist. And guys like you and the sheriff of Portland, Seth.
Shout out to Seth.
You are the types who are like, I don't know where it is, where I'm gonna buy it, or if I have to black market this thing, but I'm getting a Shaedon Sharpe Rip City Remix jersey, and I'm getting it now.
Honestly, even if it doesn't exist, Seth probably has it already.
Hey, probably. Hey, man, Lonnie Wilson. Does that ring a bell to you? Do you know who Lonnie Wilson is?
I know that name.
I don't. Laney Wilson? Lonnie Wilson? Is it Laney?
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 Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know who Laney Wilson is, but I'm sure there's someone out there who does. I feel terrible. Like, I'm getting old. That's what it is. I'm getting old. I'm getting old when the people are coming to town. Who is that you're listening to there, Sonny? Oh, my gosh, it's terrible. But Promo Suite tells me that Laney Wilson will be at the RV In Style Resorts Amphitheater September 28th. And if you want a pair of tickets, they're yours. All you got to do is be caller number 3 at 503-248-0620. 503-248-0620. Caller number 3 will win a pair of tickets to see Laney Wilson September 28th at RV In Style Resort Amphitheater. Why can't they just say like Clark County Amphitheater or whatever. Like, why does it got to be branded and named and have 20,000 words on it?
You're right. I do still call it the Rose Garden.
Yeah, exactly. Caller number 3, though, 503-248-0620. You will win a pair of tickets to see Lainey Wilson. And I'm not going to go full old man here. I'm sure she's wonderful. I just haven't had a chance to listen to her. Guess what? I'm going to do it now. I need to stay young. I need to know what the young kids are listening to. And when we come back, we're going to give you our keys to the game. Tell you what the Blazers need to do to pick up a win in Atlanta. Chris Burkhardt here with Keith Feltner-Smith on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio, 620. Duke, the UPS man, not happy that we have to keep cutting to commercials. He's like my 1-year-old in a good way. My 1-year-old watches on YouTube, Keith, and my wife always tells me she gets really mad when we cut to a commercial. Like she threw the phone one day because we cut to a commercial.
Just doesn't want that break.
Yeah. Like what? Dad, dad, dad. And then as soon as I got back on screen, she got all happy.
She's here for that content, man. That Burkhardt content.
Yeah. Hey, every once in a while, Duke, we do stay on during YouTube, but then we change the way the thing works and it cuts off the audio to the stream, but we'll get that back. I like coming on. I like to do that every once in a while. Come on during the commercial break and just talk because, radio, they got to do the bills, but YouTube, they ain't doing anything. Now, time for our keys to the game here. Key to the game for me is I want to see the Blazers be aggressive, and this has been a key for me the last few games, and it hasn't always come through, but they're having games, Keith, where it's like, oh, they had 12 free throw attempts. They had 15 free throw attempts. Like, be aggressive, get the team into foul trouble. I want to see like 20-plus trips to the line and hitting, 80, 90% of them and take advantage of those free points. You look at the game against Denver. I think Denver made 9 more free throws because they had almost twice as many free throw attempts. And then the Blazers lost the game by 3. So as the Shawns would say, you got to hit your free throws. Well, the Blazers can't hit free throws if they're not even getting to the line. So I want to see them be aggressive, get to the line. And then secondly, for me, especially in a game when DeAndre Ayton is out again, you got to find ways for Dwop, Tamani, Chris, some of these guys who are bigger bodied guys. They're not your stereotypical 7-foot center like DeAndre, who's just a glass cleaning machine. But you need to get everyone aggressive on the glass and try to win that rebound battle. What about you? What are your keys to this one?
And number one thing for me right now at this point of the season, like we said, I want the ball in Scoot's hands every play. There's no reason, in my opinion, to see Delano playmaking if Scoot is on the floor. I just want it all running through Scoot because that's what we need to see. Other than that, I want counterattacks. Well, similar to what you're saying with aggression, I want to get to the free throw line. That's going to be critical for our roster in the future, I believe. But transition just as much in the same way. We don't need half-court offense. I want to see him playing defense and running back with all the youth and the legs and getting up for easy buckets. Other than that, ball movement. I'm much less concerned with who's scoring. I don't need to see another small sample of can Chris put it in the bucket, can Repair get a shot going. I want to see which of these guys are making the extra pass, working as a team. Again, the things that are going to be the foundation for this team going forward are not just going to be let's get this one guy hot. It's going to be let's get it all working together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking up lists here, Keith, and I want to know how certain people get paid to put together lists because I'm looking at this list right here that's the greatest Nintendo 64 games, and GoldenEye is ranked 15th.
What?
That's a joke.
That is offensive.
Mario Party 3 is 14th. Org Battle 64 is 13th.
No.
Mario Golf is 12th.
No.
Pokemon Puzzle League is 11th. This is a dumb list.
Those are all above GoldenEye?
Yes.
No, sir.
Yes. Number 10 is Star Wars Rogue Squadron. That was all right.
Okay.
Wave Race 64 was good.
Classic.
Smash Bros. Paper Mario. Star Fox 64. That's overrated. Perfect Dark. That's good. Banjo-Kazooie is real good. Majora's Mask number 3. No. Super Mario 64 at number 2. No. Ocarina of Time at number 1.
Okay, so Ocarina I'm with you on, but
no,
GoldenEye has to be
think
so much higher on that list.
No, I think Ocarina of Time is one of my favorite games of all time, but I'm putting Super Mario 64 number 1. It changed the game. All right, we got to get out of here. I don't hear music, but he said 6-minute break, which means we're running low on time. So I don't hear music. Dude, I'm supposed to hear music, Shacker? What's going on? My ears are broke. Everything's broken. My ears are busted. There it is.
Technology.
He told me music at 53 out of 54. Now we're at 54:06. We've broken the cycle. I'm going to stretch for a second because I know how Shacker works. He'll move a break into the end of the show. Everything's going to be good.
It's probably my fault
Keith,
somehow.
Thank you. You did awesome, my man.
Thank you,
You're welcome back. Invitation only, though.
Always love coming
All
in
right,
here.
Chad Dewing's got your pregame show coming up next at 4:30. You have Blazers taking on the Atlanta Hawks. And, of course, after the game, fifth quarter, right back here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
Let's go, Blazers.
Show me your Blazer. I was only trying to have fun, but I was confused for a sec. Been there.